where I'm sitting right now, it's very kismet that we're having this conversation because I'm still like in the throes of building the brand, right? I do feel like I've established myself in Atlanta. I think people know my voice, but more importantly, they trust my voice. And that's what I'm like most proud of. And that's what I try to focus on. So when it comes to where I am right now, be kind to yourself and don't beat yourself up if you don't see immediate results, because this is not an overnight process. This is not a short game. This is a long game. And so when I first started the Kristin Show, I would get so mad at myself and so frustrated. I think frustrated is the better word because things weren't moving fast enough. And that's the kind of world we live in right now, courtesy of, social media and everybody's attention spans. And it's like, it's got to be now. Why isn't this happening now? Good things take time.
Welcome to the Justin Landis Show, your real estate podcast about having conversations, building relationships, and creating freedom. And with today's guest, I am switching seats from our usual. Usually she is saying, hello, this is Kristin from the Kristin Show. I'm here with Justin Landis, CEO and realtor of the Justin Landis Group. But today I'm saying, hey, I'm Justin Landis with the Justin Landis Show, here with Kristin Klingshirn, the founder and host of the Kristin Show. So we're in opposite seats today.
I know. I'm not going to lie. It's a little bit weird, but I kind of like it.
I kind of like it too.
And you're the first person to call me founder of the Kristin Show.
You are the founder. You're the founder and host.
Yeah, I guess so, with my name being on it and everything. Yeah, I do feel like I need to be like, hi, Justin Landis, CEO and realtor of the Justin Landis Group. It's good to see you.
It just rolls off your tongue. I love when you say it. All right. So, Kristin, you've been in radio for a long time. Tell us, how did that radio career start? Give us a little update to what it took to get to where you are.
See, you're so kind, trying to hide my age by not telling people how long I've been in radio. I've been doing radio for 23 years now. And I started in promotions, not on air. So promotions are the people behind the scenes that when we go out to appearances, we're the ones setting up the tents. This was back in the day. So I was putting like actual technical equipment together. I'm not going to share how many times I electrocuted myself, but after you listen to this podcast, you'll probably get a better understanding.
From knowing you, I would bet you're better on air than putting technical equipment together.
But I used to have to put these giant antennas together and like this Marty system and these speakers on top of the van. So imagine me doing that. And promotions doesn't pay very well, man. But I loved radio from the moment I stepped into the station. And I was like, man, I really want to be one of those people called talent. Like I want to be on air, and not just for the financial gains, but also it looks so cool and so fun. So I was working in Cincinnati at the time, and the PD was like, no, you don't have what it takes to be on air. And there is nothing I love more than proving people wrong.
That was the catalyst.
That's all I needed, man. I just needed somebody to tell me no. That honestly is like the greatest motivation sometimes when somebody tells you no. And my old marketing director back in Lexington, Kentucky, where I was born and raised, he was like, hey, we want you to come back. Because I had left that position to go to Cincinnati to follow a boy, and that didn't work out. Anyway, I digress. So Michael calls me up and he's like, hey, will you come back? And I'm like, yes, but only if you give me an on-air shift. So I will come back and do promotions for you, but I need an on-air shift. So they gave me overnights on the rock station.
Wow, I like it.
So I was Kitten on WKQQ. I know, you're so jealous, right?
I don't think I knew that.
Yeah. My first radio name was Kitten. And you do not get to choose your radio name. Your radio name gets chosen for you. And it was Dolphin that decided I needed to be Kitten.
Wow.
So, Kitten was born. And then I started doing overnights at the rock station, Double Q. And that graduated into a weekend shift. And then that graduated to me hanging out with Monkey Boy in the afternoons.
A lot of animals.
Yeah, there really is. There was a juice box though. Right. There was the dude as well. You guys should start doing like nicknames and real estate.
Maybe that is what our real estate agents are missing. We don't have the right nicknames.
I think so. That might be an avenue you guys.
All right, I'll put that on the idea list.
So I'm in. I love making a long story longer, so you're welcome. I was in Lexington, because I'd gone back and radio, I don't know about real estate, but radio is a very small industry and everybody kind of knows everybody. And like, that's why
relationships matter.
Very much so, hugely so. And so you never want to burn a bridge in any industry that you're in, but, you know, especially radio. So they're doing promotions and, you know, Kitten's doing her thing on Double Q. And I get a phone call from Randy West, who is one of my radio mentors. And we had crossed paths in Cincinnati. Okay. And she was now a program director in Raleigh. And they were looking for woman co-hosts for their morning show. And she calls me up and she's like, have you ever thought about doing morning radio? And I was like, no, because it's in the mornings. And I'm not a morning person. And but I was. Oh,
how ironic! Not a morning person.
You have no idea, Justin. Seriously, I am not. And everybody's like, "How do you get up?" And I was like, "I got paid. Like, if you're going to pay me to wake up early, then I can handle that." So I went and I auditioned for Bob and the Showgram in Raleigh, North Carolina, having never done morning radio. The furthest I had ever gone away from home, from a hometown in Kentucky, and it was. I'm not kidding. After the first break, we knew there was really good chemistry in the studio and in the room. And so radio has evolved over the years, and we definitely can't get away now with what we used to do. So we're going back 20 years now when I was auditioning for Bob and the Showgram, and I was one of the guest vajayjays, Justin. So they were having a vajayjay contest to see who the next woman would be on the morning show. And dude, you gotta, morning radio, that kind of shtick, and rock radio. So I was the winning vajayjay.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I got the gig. And I actually, I remember the moment, when we were in studio and we were the banter was bantering and it felt right. And so Bob offered me the job and I was like, yes. And that, gosh, yeah, that'll be almost 20 years ago that my morning show radio kicked off. Wow. And after 5 years there, obviously y'all may be familiar with the Burt Show.
Yeah, so people in Atlanta, a lot of people in Atlanta know you from the Burt Show.
Yeah. So
and so when you started that, I remember you were saying, you're like, hey, I'm going to go all in on this at this point.
Yeah.
Tell us what that looked like you got to the Burt Show and you're like, I'm going to go all in on this.
Yeah. So when I saw in the radio trades that Melissa Carter was leaving, I immediately hit up Burt, who again, this is a small industry and he and I had crossed paths and I'm like, I want this gig. And I emailed him every single day and I would send him an air check.
What were you sending in? Because this is very relevant to real estate of hey, I want this business. I want this opportunity. You know, it's what were you emailing him every day?
All right. So, and I love that I still have my old Yahoo account so I can go back and look at all the stuff that I was emailing him. And so I would send him because American Idol was really huge then. So every email check I would send as my golden ticket because I was treating it like my golden ticket to Atlanta and that he would accept and bring me here. So I was just sending little clips from the show. So if I had a funny moment or a good storytelling arc, if I would send him my parody songs because I was doing parody songs at the time. Anything and everything. I was reading Tina Fey's book.
Was he responding to these emails?
Absolutely. Yeah, no, nice. For sure. He was responding. Okay. And I mean, I literally put it all out there because I feel like vulnerability is key. And when it comes to radio, it's sad, but it's true. The more of a hot mess you are, the better you're going to be on air. So going in polished was never my goal. Going in as myself was. Yep. And I think if you can see that authenticity and you're genuine, and obviously you got to back it up with the hard work and, there's a certain radio IQ and I'm sure there's a real estate IQ as well. When you put all of that down, how can somebody say no? And Burt couldn't say no.
And so he said yes. He couldn't say no. So he said yes. And yeah, we're actually going to do 2 episodes, this episode and the next one. And the next one, I want to talk a lot about that vulnerability and being yourself and authentic that you have definitely done. And that has a great parallel, I think, to real estate. To continue here, though, so you had a great run. You're in the Burt Show. You guys were together.
I was on the show for 14 years.
14 years.
And Burt retired last October.
And so when he retired, how did you feel? So tell us about that.
Man, Justin, there is so much to unpack there that I have not shared.
We're going to have a 3-hour episode here.
Yeah. And I think that's something Burt and I actually want to do. Like, I can ultimately see him and I doing an episode together, like just delving into the behind the scenes of how all that went down. So I used to joke with Burt all the time that he was the boy that cried retirement. It was never going to happen. I'm like, you love this too much. And somebody who's been in radio as long as I have, like, I have no problem admitting, like, people go into radio because they need validation. Like, we need attention. We need validation. Yep. Somebody was not listening to us as we were growing up. And so we decided to grab a mic and force people to listen to us. And so, and you get very used to that validation and the listener feedback, good or bad. And he had been talking about it, Justin, for years. And I'm like, he can't give it up. Like, this man, he's not going to be able to give this up. And then, and we were talking about like the transition of the Burt Show. Yeah. He and I had a plan, and he and I had worked on that plan for many years. Unfortunately, that plan didn't come to fruition because ultimately it wasn't our decision how the station was going to move forward. Mm-hmm. So of course, that was a bummer, to put it mildly. But Burt and I have had such a beautiful relationship over the past 14 years. And I can say sincerely, like, it's not just like a boss coworker or a boss employee. Like, he's one of my best friends. Awesome. And I think when you do what we do for a living, and we are so vulnerable, because that is a key component in connecting with your audience, that you build these bonds in that studio. Because I got to be able to trust these people. For sure. Like, and trust them implicitly. Because I'm sharing, like, yeah, we're goofy, we're silly, we have fun, we do things like Guess by JJ. But, I'm chronically, when I was on air, I was chronicling my IVF journey. Yep. I was being vulnerable about my grief journey when my dad passed away, with, my mental health, like, all that's on the table. And I don't have an issue discussing any of that as long as I can trust the people around me that they're going to make it a safe space. Because you want to be in a room with people who are going to create a safe space. And Burt always did that for me. So you have that just like great relationship and run, and the show's doing so well. Mm-hmm. And I think this is a great parallel to real estate, because the title of the show was The Burt Show. Yeah. And then now it's The Kristin Show. Talk a little bit from a brand perspective. In radio, just like with the real estate, you want to develop your own brand. Mm-hmm. So you developed a brand while on The Burt Show that you've now transitioned into The Kristin Show. Talk a little bit about what it was like to develop that brand on a show that wasn't named The Kristin Show. See, thank you for saying that, because I have been sitting here and kind of been beating myself up a little bit. Because I don't feel like I did a good enough job building my brand while I was on The Burt Show. What makes you say that? Tell me more about that. Well, so I don't have any regrets. I do feel like whoever's listening might be able to learn from some of my mistakes or missteps. I am an all or nothing person to a fault, right? Like, when it came to The Burt Show, I didn't pursue any side hustles because I gave the show my all. Mm-hmm. Do you think that's a big part of, to me, that seems like that's a big part of why I was successful, because you were giving it your all. So that's the thing. Yeah, that's the rub. That is the rub. That's the rub. And that's what I did. And I never begrudged anybody on the show. I'll never forget, I did a radio panel at Morning Show Boot Camp, and everybody on stage was talking about, I'm doing this and I'm doing that. And so, I have the show, but then like have this laundry list of other things they do. And then they got to me and they're like, I do The Burt Show and I'm a mom, and that's all I got time for. And it was but it was refreshing. And when I said that, it actually got applause in the room. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, I know what I'm capable of, and I also know what I'm not capable of. And so if I spread myself too thin, it's going to be a detriment to everybody around me. And I really did at that time choose to put my whole into The Burt Show and make that as successful as possible. No, sincerely, no regrets whatsoever. And then I also had to find a new balance, and I completely had to readjust my priorities once my son came into the mix. And so I'm still 5 years in. Jimmy's 5 now. I'm still trying to figure out like how that working mom, and especially in media. This happens in real estate. The parallels are very similar, because a lot of times people have generated their business pre-kids pure social. Like, they're doing a ton of stuff. It's all social. And now you're like,
oh, I can't go out 6 nights a week and meet people and talk to people. So how am I going to generate my business now? It's like a whole different environment.
And for me, it's like working weekends and, emceeing events and just, getting pulled in a million different directions. And I had to set limitations. I'm like, I can only host one event a month because I can't take those weekends away from my son.
Yep.
And
that could be like a real estate agent saying, hey, I can only do one open house a month. Like I can only do it one Sunday. I'm not willing to give up the other.
Just make it the best damn open house you ever did.
And you better crush that. Seriously. And you want to crush the one you're doing.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's so when I was on the show, and I had been approached about doing podcasts and stuff like that. And I was like, the idea of coming up with additional content for another source was so daunting. I'm like, absolutely not. Because every bit of my, as we call it, like A+ content was going to the Burt Show.
Yeah.
And I didn't feel, even if I did come up with additional content for a podcast, it was going to be the B or C stuff. So who wants to listen to that?
There you go.
So I made the decision not to pursue any of that. I was active on social media, but not as active as I probably should have been.
You do have a great social media following.
I appreciate, and it's not even the amount of followers; it's more the engagement.
Oh yeah, that's what. Yeah, sure.
Because I know it's all about the engagement. So I look back. And hindsight's 2020. We can Monday morning quarterback absolutely everything in our lives. And I've done that looking at what I've built. And I sit here and I kick myself and I'm like, oh, but it could be bigger. And there could be more followers and more engagement. And I could have a podcast with XYZ. And then I'm just like, girl, no, it's okay. There's still time. Yep. And now I'm having to shift gears with the Kristin Show and really now starting to focus on building that brand.
Yeah. Before we transition to that, just to wrap it up, what advice would you give to somebody starting out who would be in your position of they're working under another brand potentially or in another brand based on all that experience? What advice would you give somebody?
I mean, where I'm sitting right now, it's very kismet that we're having this conversation because I'm still like in the throes of building the brand, right? I do feel like I've established myself in Atlanta. I think people know my voice, but more importantly, they trust my voice. And that's what I'm like most proud of. And that's what I try to focus on. So when it comes to where I am right now, be kind to yourself and don't beat yourself up if you don't see immediate results, because this is not an overnight process. This is not a short game. This is a long game. And so when I first started the Kristin Show, I would get so mad at myself and so frustrated. I think frustrated is the better word because things weren't moving fast enough. And that's the kind of world we live in right now, courtesy of, social media and everybody's attention spans. And it's like, it's got to be now. Why isn't this happening now? Good things take time.
Yep.
And so now I'm really focusing on the long game. And I have a list of things I want to get accomplished. I'm a really good idea person. I can struggle at the execution, but you and me both. Us creative types are like that. That's why you have to surround yourself. Yes. That's another key component. Surround yourself with people that you can trust, that you can rely on, and who believe in the vision. Yep. Like my co-host Ethan believes in the Kristin Show. The same way I believed in the Burt Show, in the same way that I believed in Bob and the Showgram, the last 19 years, I've believed in what I was putting my time and effort into. And if you surround yourself with people who have that same mindset, which I think is so key, your brand will go far.
See, hearing you say this, as I kind of think about it in my head, you were all in, and that helped create that trust that people have in your voice. And you're like, yeah, people trust your voice, and they do. And the value of that is hard to even you can't put a value on it, right? I mean, that's the most important thing in your business and in the real estate business, because it's a relationship-based business and people have to trust the voice. So wherever you are, if you're all in on it, people are going to trust your voice. And then I've got to think, and let's transition to the Kristin Show, it's got to make that transition easier because people are already coming in with a level of trust. Yeah. It's not something brand new. There's a level of trust, even though the name of the show is new. And so talk a little bit about what that transition's been like. You're like, I want to get fast. I'm doing this. You found a great co-host. Tell me a little bit more about how the transition to the Kristin Show has been this year.
Well, I recognize there is no comparison to the Burt Show. That was a once in a lifetime opportunity. Radio has evolved and changed, and any kind of opportunity like that honestly just doesn't exist anymore. So I am so grateful to have had that. So I am very cognizant of not comparing the Kristin Show to the Burt Show because you can't. It's just it's the Kristin Show is something unique, right? So yes, you can take inspiration, but as far as like trying to make it like the Burt Show, that's not going to happen. And that's not what I'm trying to do. So with the Kristin Show, we went from a staff of 11 down to a staff of 2. So that's been
hands-on.
Your girl's very hands-on. So that's been a major adjustment because your expectations. I am notorious for having these, I'm not calling them insane, but I have high expectations and I also have very high standards, courtesy of having worked with Burt, right? So I have high expectations and high standards. And so when you have too many of those and they're not going to get met, all you're going to have is disappointment. So I am managing my expectations while not lowering my standards.
Oh, I like that. Managing my expectations while not lowering my standards.
Yeah, because I don't think those have to be like, I don't think those have to be mutually exclusive, right? So what I'm now doing is everything I do still has a standard, but I know there's not as much output as there used to be just because there's not enough hands to do that. So what we do, we're going to do it right.
Love it.
And I may not be doing as much as I want to do, but as long as we like continually do things and we do them right, and we do them because again, learn this from the school of Burt, go big or go home. I don't half-ass anything. If I can't do it the way I want to do it, then I'm just not going to do it. And that can be an attribute and that can also be like a flaw too, because then a lot of stuff gets left on the cutting room floor.
Well, that happens a lot in the real estate business too, because people see there's so many things you could do. And a lot of times you have an idea you could do all of these things, but you can only do so many, especially to your point, if your staff is 2 versus 20. And so sounds like you're putting your energy into the things that are most important, highest value, and you're doing them great, as opposed to trying to do so many things, but they're not as great as the few things that you could do.
Nailed it. And I'm a big, and I've been doing this for years, the input versus output is very important to me.
Tell a little more about that.
So, and this has taken years of working in radio and knowing like, if I'm going to put in, here's a great example for you, right? And it has to do with social media. So I don't know if you want to do it here or if you want to do it in the next episode.
Tee it up here.
Okay. So Ethan and I, I love my little golden retriever. He's my golden retriever puppy, but I'm the senior golden retriever because I still have that energy, but it's a little more subdued. And so he's very active with the social media. And I have made sure that the person that I work with, I know what my strengths are, and I also know what my weaknesses are. And Ethan, when it comes to video editing and social media and looking at the algorithms and knowing when to post and knowing how to caption things and grabbing people's attention, if you see something that's lacking in yourself, find it in others, and then don't treat that like a competition because it's not. It's elevating you. It's not a competition. So I was laying in bed, 10:30 at night, doing what I do, scrolling the gram, and there is
you and everyone else in America.
Yeah, right. That blue light's great for you before you go to bed, Justin.
Definitely. This is not a podcast about health.
10 out of 10 recommend scrolling into the wee hours of the morning. You'll get the best sleep of your life.
Definitely.
Psych. And so Savannah Levins from 11 Alive had posted this picture of a sad Easter bunny at the Georgia Square Mall in Athens. A guy had submitted the photo. Hang with me here. I swear there's a point to the story. And it struck a chord, right? It hurt my heart to see this sad, lonely Easter bunny at this decrepit mall, nobody there to visit him. So the way my brain works, I'm like, all right, oh, that's sad. Well, wait, maybe the Kristin Show can do something with this. Well, what can the Kristin Show do with this? Well, we should go visit the Easter bunny. I pull up my schedule and I look, I had no meetings, we had no interviews. And I'm like, I actually Google Maps. I'm like, how far is freaking Georgia Square Mall in Augusta from the station? And I'm like, when does the bunny? I start looking up when the bunny has like openings. And of course, everything was open because nobody was visiting the bunny.
Plenty of openings.
Yeah. And I'm doing the math in my head. I'm like, so they open at this time. We could go like make an appointment for the bunny at this time and we can drive there and get back and we can get back just in time for the show. Man, if Ethan is down to clown, we should do this because it would be cool, right? I hit up my little golden retriever puppy and he's like, oh my God, I guess, let's go. And so the next morning, I made 2 appointments because I knew I wanted extra time, and I'm like, well, if we're going to take photos, we can't just go and take a photo. We have to do like those JCPenney style photos that they do, those really like corny, whatever. And then I'm like, but if we're going to do that, then we should have some kind of corny shirt or something to wear. And I'm like, so then I'm like, oh, there's a Belk at the mall. We can run into Belk and we can buy corny shirts and then we can go take these funny photos. So Ethan and I, this happened, all of this happened 10:30 night. And that's what you also have to strike when the iron's hot. If you see a moment, you have to grab it. So the next morning, I'm getting ready. I'm getting in the car. I go to pick up Ethan. And I also had the Instagram reel played out in my head. I knew I wanted to jump out of the bed, grab the keys, pull up to Ethan, drive there. It was there. I just needed to push myself to do the execution. And so I pick up Ethan, we drive to Augusta. Of course, I got an empty tank, so we got to get gas. And we go there, we find the worst shirts ever at Belk, and it was perfect. The bunny was fantastic. The Easter bunny was so cool and did every pose we wanted to do. And we literally come into the radio station on 2 wheels. Show starts at 2. We were back at 1:55.
Wow.
I'm doing my stuff. Ethan's putting the video together, making the vision happen. We post it, and it went viral. We ended up with like 1.5 million views.
Wow.
The comments are through the roof. And I remember getting home that day. So that was a long day, and I was late getting home. Because something's going to sacrifice, right?
Yep.
When you're a working parent, there's no such thing as balance. Either work's going to get all your attention one day or your kid's going to get your attention one day. There's always going to be something askew. And I've accepted that. As long as you make sure they're both getting attention. And I got home late, so I didn't get as much time with my son before I put him to bed. And I remember my husband standing there in the living room. And he's like, do you know what you're doing? Because you're putting a lot of energy, right? Because he could see how tired I was. And he's like, I just, are you wasting your time? And I looked him straight in the eye and I was like, that's going to go viral. Now, I honestly had no idea if it was, but I was really mad at my husband for calling me out.
Back to if you tell me I can't, I will.
It was like in a movie. And he's standing there. And of course, he turns around. And I've been with this man for 20 years. So what do? I flicked him off as he was walking out of the room. And I'm like, I know what I'm doing. You know what I mean? Like I saw the vision. And then it went viral.
And then it went.
Now, that was, I will say that there's a stroke of luck there, but it hit such a chord, especially with elder millennials, because the mall culture, right?
Yep.
Malls are like vacant and decrepit, and that is sad. And then like family traditions, like nobody really goes to take pictures with the Easter bunny anymore. And then us being goofy, we need light, goofy stuff on social media to take us away from, all the other horrible things that are happening in the world. So it struck a perfect chord and did exactly what I wanted it to do. Yep. And then I got to rub it in my husband's face. So that was the icing on top.
I love it. Oh, what a story. I mean, that insight is gold. And we're actually going to take this time to end episode 1.
Okay.
But don't miss episode 2 because Kristin is going to get into more specifics and details on her social media, how she's been vulnerable, how that's worked for her, how she's been authentic, and how you can do the same thing. So thanks for listening this week to the Justin Landis Show. Make sure to like and subscribe so you don't miss an episode, and we will see you again next week.